Krishna, 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 Hare
Hare Krishna. Okay, good. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Namaham Shaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vatsam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan, which is the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. We are reading from the third canto, entitled The Status Quo. We are on chapter 2 of the third canto, Remembrance of Lord Krishna, and we are on text 17. Okay, I don't like those glasses. I don't have mine. So. It's okay, I can read. They are really strong, so just a little strong. We are going to go one Sanskrit word at a time. Here in person, we have Dear Govinda Prabhu, Bhaktadevan, Bhaktin, Pearl, and online we have Pampara Prabhu, Lakshmi Priya, Mother Lakshmi Priya, and Bhakta Georgie. Hare Krishna. Do you know Ti?
Noti,
Chitta,
Chitta,
Smarata,
Smarata,
Mama,
Mama,
Etat,
Etat,
Yat,
Yat,
Aha, Padao, Abhivandya,
Abhivandya,
Pitro,
Pitro,
Tata,
Tata,
Amba,
Amba,
Kamsat,
Kamsat,
Uru,
Uru,
Sankirtanam,
Sankirtanam,
Rashidatam,
Prasiddhitam,
Na,
No,
Akrita,
Akrita,
Niskritinam.
Niskritinam,
Do no ticheta smarato mamaitad.
Noti, Chitta, Smarato, Maimatad,
Yad a opada vabhivandya pitro.
Yad Ahapata, Vivandi Pitro,
Tatam bakam sadhu shankitanam.
Tampam Sadhu Sankirtanam,
Asidatam no krita niskritinam.
Prasidatam no Krita Niskritinam,
Dunoti cheta smarato mamaitad.
Noti, Chitta, Smarato, Maimatad,
Yadha pada vabhivandya pitro.
Yad Ahapata, Vivandya Pitro.
Tatambakam sadhu shankirtanam.
Tatambakam sadhu sankirtanam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam.
Dunoti chetas marato mamaitad.
Dunoti chetas marano mamaitad.
Yadha hapadava vivandya pitro.
Yada patava vivandya pitro.
Tatambakam sadhu shankirtanam.
Tatambakam sadhu sankirtanam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritanam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam. Dunoti chetas marano mamaitad.
Dunoti chetas marato mamaitad.
Yada padava vivandya pitro.
Yadha padava vivandya pitro.
Tatambakam sadhu sankirtanam.
Tatambakam sadhu shankirtanam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam.
Dunoti chetas marato mamaitad.
Dunoti chetas marato mamaitad.
Yadaho padavavi vandya pitro.
Yadha padava vivandya pitro.
Tatambakam saurus shankitanam.
Tatambakam sadhu shankirtanam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam. Someone online would like to chant the verse?
Dunoti chetas marato mamaitad.
Dunoti chetas marato mamaitad.
Yaraha para pavivandya pitro.
Yadha padava vidvandya pitro.
Tatambakam sadhu sankirtanam.
Tatambakam sadhu shankirtanam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritanam.
Prasidatam no kritanis kritinam. Very nice. Okay, word for word. Dunoti.
Dunoti.
It gives me pain.
It gives me pain.
Cheta.
Cheta.
Heart.
Heart.
Marata.
Smarta.
While thinking of.
Thinking of.
Mama.
Mama.
My. Etat.
Etat.
This.
This.
Yat.
Yeah.
As much as.
As much as.
Aha. Said.
Said.
Padao.
Padam.
Feet.
Eat.
Abhivandya.
Abhivandya.
Worshipping. Pitro.
Pitro.
Of the parents. Tata. My dear father. Amba. My dear mother.
My dear mother.
Kamsat.
Kamsa.
Out of Kamsas.
Out of Kamsas.
Ooh.
Guru.
Great.
Great.
Shankirtanam.
Sankirtanam.
Of those who are afraid.
Those who are afraid.
Prasidatam.
Prasidatam.
Be pleased with.
Be pleased with.
Now. Our.
Our.
Akrita. Not executed.
Not executed.
Espetina.
Disputed.
Duties to serve you.
Duties to serve you.
Translation. Lord Krishna begged pardon from his parents for their, Krishna and Balaram's, inability to serve their feet due to being away from home because of great fear of Kamsa. He said, "Oh mother, oh father, please excuse us for this inability. All this behavior of the Lord gives me pain at heart." Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It appears that Lord Krishna and Baladev were both very greatly afraid of Kamsa, and therefore they had to hide themselves. But if Lord Krishna and Baladev are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How was it possible that they were afraid of Kamsa? Is there any contradiction in such statements? Vasudev, due to his great appreciation for Krishna, wanted to give him protection. He never thought that Krishna was the Supreme Lord and could protect himself. He thought, of Krishna as his son. Because Vasudev was a great devotee of the Lord, he did not like to think that Krishna might be killed like his other children. Morally, Vasudev was bound to deliver Krishna to the hand of Kamsa because he had promised to turn over all his children. But out of his great love for Krishna, he broke his promise, and the Lord was very pleased with Vasudev for his transcendental mentality. He did not want to disturb the intense affection of Vasudev, and thus he agreed to be carried by his father to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. And just to test the intents of Vasudev, Lord Krishna fell down in the waters of the Yamuna while his father was crossing the river. Vasudev became mad after his child as he tried to recover him in the midst of the rising river. These are all glorified pastimes of the Lord, and there is no contradiction in such manifestations. Since Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he was never afraid of Kamsa, but to please his father, he agreed to be so. And the most brilliant part of his supreme character was that he begged pardon from his parents for being unable to serve their feet while absent from home because of fear of Kamsa. The Lord, whose lotus feet are worshipped by demigods like Brahma and Shiva, wanted to worship the feet of Vasudev. Such instruction by the Lord to the world is quite appropriate. Even if one is the Supreme Lord, one must serve his parents. A son is indebted to his parents in so many ways. It is the duty of the son to serve his parents, however great son may be. And directly Krishna wanted to teach the atheists who do not accept the supreme fatherhood of God, and they may learn from this action how much the Supreme Father has to be respected. Uddhava was simply struck with wonder by such a glorious behavior of the Lord, and he was very sorry that he was unable to go with him. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shigu Shiyuta Padakamalam Shigum Vaishnavam Shah Shirupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Yari Priye Kanshakatpata Ubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveseshya Shunyavadi Paskachade Jatarine. Lord Krishna begged pardon from his parents for their, Krishna and Balaram's, inability to serve their feet due to being away from home because of great fear of Kamsa. He said, "Oh mother, oh father, please excuse us for this inability, all this behavior of the Lord give me pain at heart." So, hi Krishna. We are hearing from Uddhava. And Uddhava is remembering that the title of this chapter is Remembrance of Lord Krishna. So Uddhava is remembering Lord Krishna. So much emotion is coming for Uddhava as he remember the pastime of Krishna, as he remember his time with Krishna. And it's very, very difficult for him to compose himself. So many, like here, he feels so much pain in heart, deep pain in heart, just remembering how beautiful it was. And this specific pastime, the remembrance is that when there was an eclipse of sun eclipse, the inhabitant of Dwarkapuri, they went to Kurukshetra. I'm okay.
Oh, good.
They went to Kurukshetra. I'm just thinking of, and then when they were there, they were, all the resident of Vrindavan were there, the resident Dwarka were there, the resident Mathura was. Everybody was there for protection because it's eclipse are very inauspicious, and because they are inauspicious during eclipse. Devotees of the Lord, pious people, they do a lot of austerity and sacrifice, so they went to a place of sacrifice. Kurukshetra is a place of sacrifice, to do some austerity and to be protected by the place of sacrifice. And while he was there, so Lord Krishna saw his mom, like his foster parents, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, and you remind him how, he was taken away from Vasudeva and Devaki very young, in a very young age, and then he apologized like that to his mom and dad, Vasudeva and Devaki, saying, well, I was taken away. In fact, you missed out on my childhood. And the childhood pastime of Krishna are very, very special. They are very special. Krishna come to the material world to enact. It's eternal pastime. And eternally comes in a material world to enact his childhood pastime, and they are very, very sweet. And so he knew, like, for Vasudeva and Devaki, they missed out on his baby pastime, he missed out on the toddler pastime. And all of you who are parents, you can relate to that. You're not the parents of Krishna, you're parents of a spiritual, having a human experience. Still, there's so much emotion in those pastimes. When I remember my daughter, I very rarely remember my daughter in her teenage years. Like when I the sweet remembrance is baby and the toddler, and of course, as a parent, I'm grieving that. Like I lost my baby. My baby died. My toddler died. My 5-year-old died. The 8-year-old died. So much grief, like losing children all the time. We lose children all the time. But, because they grow, maybe it doesn't feel like that. When they leave home, then all that grief come up. At least that was my experience. And so Krishna is very compassionate, and he knows the heart of his devotees and his eternal companions, like his mother and father. And so he could feel the compassion of their grief. Not only they lost their children like we do, but they didn't have the opportunity. From the time of his birth, the moment of his birth, Lord Krishna was taken by his father Vasudeva to give him away to foster parents. How painful is that for parents? How painful it was for Mother Devaki, who she stayed in a prison while Vasudeva did that. She stayed alone in a prison, like being in separation from her son. And so the first thing that Srila Prabhupada said in the purport here is because like the reason why Krishna was taken away and the reason why he apologized is because he was taken away out of fear of Kamsa, because Kamsa already had killed his brother, his older brothers, one after another. And we can see the character of Vasudeva. Prabhupada is also hinting there at Prabhupada is hinting at the moral duties of Vasudeva. Can we imagine, like, so easily we break commitment, well, commitment that are really not that difficult to keep with others. I will pick you up, or I will do something for you. So easily we keep agreement. The agreement that Vasudeva made with Kamsa, his brother-in-law, was to bring him all his newborn children to be killed by Kamsa. And he was bound by morality, by his agreement, by his words. His words were everything. And he was so bound by his words that he did until Krishna appeared. He did until Krishna appeared. And when Krishna appeared, Krishna, of course, manifested himself in a four-armed form. We know the story. However, here we are not focusing on that story. We are focusing on a deeply more like sentimental aspect, like the emotion of both Krishna feeling sorry for his parents and apologizing for being fearful of Krishna, of Kamsa and leaving, and the feeling of his parents. And so Prabhupada asked, how can it be that Uddhava, in general, Krishna himself is fearful, is a supreme personality of Godhead, is an example of fearlessness. What is there for Krishna to be scared of is Ham Sarvasya Parabhava, is the source of all. Is the source of the material world, is the source of the spiritual world, is the source of Kamsa. Like little Prahlad said to his father, like when the father asked him, where do you get your power? Little Prahlad said, same place you do. So Kamsa is also part and parcel of Krishna. How can Krishna be afraid of Kamsa? That's a question Prabhupada put here. How can Krishna, who is the source of Kamsa, be afraid of Kamsa? And we can look at in the months of Damodar, Kartik, we pray and his eyes were peaceful and his breathing quick. And as Mother Yashoda bound his belly with rope, he shivered in fright and his pearl's necklace shook. How is that possible? Krishna is always Krishna. He's not bound by the form of his body. He's not bound by anything. So the form of his body doesn't bound him. He is Krishna. He can expand unlimitedly, and he can also become tiny as sound, like in our heart. He's a Paramatma. He's so small. It's like living in my heart. And he's always Krishna, omnipotent Krishna. He has all his power, regardless the shape, the form, or the size of that if he chooses to take. So Prabhupada is asking, how come baby Krishna is afraid of Mother Yashoda? Yeah. And then how come Krishna likes to also bring fear to his devotees? Because Vasudeva, when he saw Krishna, he wanted to protect Krishna. He didn't think Krishna doesn't need protection. Sometimes we may be impersonal. Oh, Krishna, he has everything. I don't need to give him anything. No, that's impersonal. That's my Avadi philosophy. Oh, I don't need to serve Krishna. What can I do anyway? He can serve himself. He can cook his food. He can He can do everything. He doesn't need me. He doesn't need me. Why will I do any service for Krishna? Is all-powerful Krishna. But Krishna, what he likes to do is to make himself inferior, to receive from his devotees. And he accepts the Vigraha form, the Archa Vigraha form, to receive the service of his devotees. He makes himself helpless, like he's not moving. He's on the altar. Okay, you dress me. I'm not going to move. You dress me. I'm not going to move. Like, I want a garland. Like, it's very well known that I have a garland every day. And also I have offering 6 times a day. And do also offer me lamps and ghee wicks and flour and offering me all these things, and I make myself helpless. It's so kind. Krishna is so kind that he make himself helpless to receive the service of his devotees. And for us, the way to serve him is, through that form, Archa Vigraha. You receive our service. And then as we become purified and for the eternal associate of the Lord, Krishna does the same. He makes himself helpless for Mother Yashoda. And he makes himself fearful of Mother Yashoda. And he makes himself being disciplined by Mother Yashoda even. Just to have that experience of that energy of relationship. It's called rasa. It's called rasa, that juice. Rasa means also juice. So there is a juice there. There's a juice in creating fear, in being fearful. There is juice there, and Krishna doesn't want to miss out. We can experience that sometime. I know that in my youth I was reckless. I was so reckless, fearless. I look back at my youth, what I did in my young age, and I feel, how come I wasn't scared? I did the most stupid things on earth, but even more so in a woman's body. And how come I wasn't scared? And things will happen and I was still not scared. Because there is a thrill there, isn't it? It's $1 million industry. People go to amusement park. They go to the roller coaster because there is fear there. So on our level 2, we lack the fear. Like so many movies are made to create fear. Like they're more and more crazy, I believe. I hear from people, it's just boom, like psychic thrillers and thrillers. It's called thrillers.
A thriller.
Thrillers. So thrillers. So it's the same. Like what exists in a source exists in effect, and what exists in effect exists in a fruit. Janmaya yataha. Whatever we are experiencing, we enjoy fear. We can say, "Oh, I don't like fear," and all that. Judging by what's happening around and judging by ways that many industries make money, we love fear. So does Krishna. And so does Krishna in relationship with his devotees. When he was in Vrindavan, there was a snake in the river of the Yamuna. And he went there, and all his cowherd boys and all the cows that were with them, they drank from the Yamuna river. They fell dead as soon as they drank from the Yamuna river. And so there was a big serpent with millions of hoods like that, was in a river, and from each of his mouths, he was like breathing poison, fiery poison. And there was a few cowherd boys, and they didn't drink, so they were still alive. And Krishna was preparing himself very slowly. He was like tightening his belt, and then he was climbing the tree very slowly. So the little cowherd boys, they went to the village, and they went to get Mother Yashoda, and they were Nanda Maharaj, and all the villagers, they ran to see like that. And when Mother Yashoda saw that our little boy Krishna was climbing the tree, and he was ready to jump in the Yamuna river, he was ready to jump and fight with the Kanya serpent with all his wood, she fainted. Oh God, my son, He didn't think he's okay. He already killed Putana, and he killed the demon cart and the Britasura, and so many. He already had killed so many asuras. She could think, it's nothing for Krishna. Kaliya is nothing for Krishna. She could think like that. But then there will be no juice for Krishna. If his mother didn't faint like that. Yeah. And also there was another pastime where there was a big serpent and he was lying on the road with his big mouth open like that. And then at that moment, the coward boys, they thought oh, that's okay. We can see it's a big giant snake and it smells so bad from his mouth. But let's enter it anyway because Krishna will save us. He already swallows the fire. He did so many things. Krishna is going to save us. So the coward boys, they ran and they went towards the cave. It looks like a big cave, but they kind of knew it wasn't a cave. But still they ran as if they didn't know. And what Krishna did, he was in anxiety. He was in so much anxiety. It's described in the Krishna book how much anxiety Krishna felt. And of course, Krishna saved the day. He went into the mouth after they all entered the mouth, and then he decided, okay, I'm going to do something. And so he entered the mouth of the big snake too and saved his coward boyfriend. And still we can see that fear, that's described. Krishna manifesting fear, manifesting himself, being afraid and in anxiety about his boyfriend, and also manifesting the fear in his devotees, like when Vasudeva, he was carrying Krishna on the basket, above the basket there was an antashesh, and then he lost that little, and Krishna fell in the water, it says here in the purport, and all that was pastime. To see the love of Vasudeva, his anxiety. Where is my son? Where is my son? Oh, my son fell in the water. So all that gives so much joy to Krishna. It gives joy to Krishna to see how much his devotee love him. So how we understand that? It's very confusing, very bewildering. The acts of the Lord are very bewildering. Yesterday, Yogeshwar Prabhu was reading from the prayer of Queen Kunti, and I, thinking of that verse, I also wanted to read from the prayer of Queen Kunti. And Queen Kunti, she prays your pastimes are very bewildering. They are confusing. They are very, very confusing. It is very confusing. How can you be born and unborn? How can you be fearless and fearful? How can all those contradictions, constant contradiction? Krishna consciousness means constant contradiction. And Jiva Goswami, he pinpoints one aspect of Krishna consciousness that is kind of a first step to understand Krishna. Of course, we only understand Krishna by his mercy. There is nothing we can do to understand Krishna. All we can do is to serve him. And by serving him with love and devotion, he gets bound by us. And by that love and devotion we give him, then he gets bound, and then he reveals himself. He reveals himself, and he reveals more and more the rasa, the juice that is between us and him. There's no academic, there is no qualification. I can study the Veda for all my life, or do austerity, sacrifice, yoga, meditation. None of that is going to be useful. Useless, degrees, whatever. It's all useless to understand Krishna. The only thing that helps us understand Krishna is to serve him, to austerity, sacrifice for him, to meditate on what can I do today to bring a smile to the spiritual master, the Vaya medium? What can I do today to bring a smile to Srila Prabhupada's face? Because when Srila Prabhupada is pleased, Krishna is pleased. And that's how we can please Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada is pleased, Krishna is pleased. And then we can bring a smile to Krishna's face when we bring a smile to Srila Prabhupada's face. So Jiva Goswami is a qualification for spiritual life, is to accept that Krishna is unconceivable. We cannot conceive of Krishna with our little tiny brain, with our little tiny mind. We cannot conceive Krishna. It's unconceivable. Unconceivable Krishna. It's unconceivable that he is born and unborn. Unconceivable that is fearful of cancer. It's inconceivable that he was a baby taken away by his father to protect him from cancer. That he goes and pay obeisances to his father and mother and apologize for being away from them because he was a coward. He was scared of cancer. In fact, Krishna is a coward. It's called a rancher. His name is Rancher. Rancher means a coward because he left when Jarasandha was attacking for the 21st time. He left the battlefield. Rancher, he ran away. So he was a coward there. He defeated Jarasandha many times before. But then he ran away. It's called a rancher. He's coward. Krishna can do anything. Even yesterday we were reading in the Nectar of Devotion. We were reading that Krishna can even break all the rules. He does break all the religious principles, all of them. He breaks all the rule of morality. He breaks all the rule of religion. He breaks all the rule of moral, all that. And for him, there is no reaction. For him, there is no consequences. For him, it's just transcendental. It's transcendental pastime. It's inconceivable to us. So Queen Kunti, she prayed like that, like your pastime are inconceivable. And I'm going to read a little bit from Queen Kunti. I think I'm reading a different part than we read yesterday. So let me see if I have the right book. Yeah, I do. Just pick it up from the shelf. Okay, so the Prayer of Queen Kunti is it's a book that we read with our group, our Monday group, a few months ago, maybe. Yeah. And it's also a part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, the book was taken from the Srimad Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada lecture. It was a compilation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, verse and purport, and Srila Prabhupada's lecture on those prayers of Queen Kunti. I encourage you all to read those prayers, very powerful, intense, like deeply devotional, deeply in a mode of 100% Atma-nivedana, full surrender. And so I'm going to start from text 28, chapter 8 of the first canto, Prayer of Queen Kunti. So the Queen Kunti said, "My Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller without beginning and end, the all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissension between living beings are due to social intercourse." That's so profound. That it's eternal time. It doesn't have any beginning and end. And she's speaking with him right there. And then you say, okay, whatever, of course, they just, she prayed just after the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So there was dissension. But they're only due to social intercourse, those dissension. All those, because after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, there was 600 million were killed. Most of them were, family members. So it's just due to social intercourse, every dissension. Oh Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes. So that's where they are inconceivable, which appear to be human and are so misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. People only imagine that you are partial. So Prabhupada used the same words at the beginning of his purpose. It appears that Lord Krishna and Baladev were both very greatly afraid of Kamsa. So same thing, Queen Kunti, she prayed, she said, it appears. They are inconceivable. And then also it appears that he was partial to the Pandava or partial to some people, but he's not partial. He's neutral. He doesn't envy anyone and he's not partial to anyone. Of course it is bewildering, she said. Of course it is bewildering. It is bewildering. O soul of the universe, that you walk, so you are inactive, and that you take birth, so you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself descend among animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. So in the purport, we can look at it sounds like there is a contradiction. So Vasudev, due to his great appreciation of Krishna, wanted to give him protection. So there is a father wanted to give him protection. And he never thought that Krishna was the Supreme Lord and could protect himself. So he didn't think like that. And he thought of Krishna as his son. And then it said, because Vasudeva was a great devotee of the Lord, it sounds contradictory. Mm-hmm. He's a great devotee of the Lord, and because he was a great devotee of the Lord, he didn't like to think that Krishna might be killed by like his other children. So it sounds like a contradiction. Because his other children, he brought them to Kamsa, and here because he's a great devotee of the Lord, so somewhere he must know that Krishna is the Lord. Then he wanted to protect that son and break his own commitment. How bewildering is that? How confusing, how sounds so much contradiction. How can we bring it together? How can we bring that together? And I thought about it and this prayer where Queen Kunti said, you come in so many forms. Not so long ago, he came in the form of Lord Nrsimhadev, half lion, half man. He comes as a boar. He comes sometimes as his cowherd boys, different expansion. And regardless the form he comes, is 100% Krishna. And what does Krishna means? Is that he's all attractive. So his attractive potency is always received by his devotees. He's always received. When we spoke about that the last class, I spoke that when he expanded himself in all the calf and the cow, the calf and the cowherd boys, the cowherd men, they didn't know that he wasn't their sons, or the cow didn't know it was not their calf because it looks the same. But their attraction was amplified by thousands and thousand-fold. So Krishna is always attractive. As a boar is the most beautiful boar. As a fish is the most beautiful, attractive fish. And as such, the attraction Vasudeva was feeling towards that particular son was manifold. The attraction that he felt for any of his children before. And because of that, because he's a devotee, he felt that strong attraction. And then he wanted to protect that child. So that's how we can, start to expand that inconceivable understanding of Krishna. And like Queen Kunti, she goes into it. I will read just one more. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflow with tears, which was the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid. So fear personified is afraid of you. This side is bewildering to me. So fear personified is afraid of Krishna. And Queen Kunti, she said, this is so confusing that you were really, it's not even like yesterday, Yogeshwar was sharing earlier verse where she said, you act like an actor. So he's a great actor. And what good actors do, when good actors are really good, they make us cry. It's because they fully embody the personality. The actors that stay actors, they're not very good. They don't move us. The actors that really move us are those actors that they're not whatever identity that they have outside. They really imbibe, like maybe they are like the killer person and they really become a killer mentality, their consciousness, or maybe they are a lover, or maybe whatever roles they have. Great actors, the qualities that make them great actors is that they forget who they are. So Krishna forget who he is because he has his internal energies that helping him in his pastime. It's Yoga Maya. So there is, we speak a lot about Maya because we are all thrown into Maya. So the Maya we are thrown into is Mahamaya, the illusion that makes us forget about Krishna. And because we forget about Krishna, we become so far away from Krishna. We think we are Krishna, we are the Lord the Lord of all, and I can control everything, I can control people, I can control everything, and I can create whatever I want. This is Maya, illusion. We are completely madness, illusion. This is external energy of the Lord, Mahamaya. And there is another Maya that also put the pure devotees in illusion, that put also Krishna in illusion, that internal energy of the Lord, where Mother Yashoda, she forgets 100%. She's put in illusion. She forget Krishna is God. Vasudeva here, he forget Krishna is God. He forgets so much so that he wants to protect Krishna. So that's the internal energy of the Lord, Yoga Maya. And Yoga Maya, she's there to increase the pleasure of potency, like the pleasure of Krishna, by putting a spell on devotees for Krishna to enjoy his childhood pastime, to enjoy seeing the fear in Mother Yashoda's eyes, to see the fear in Vasudeva's eyes when he falls in a Yamuna river. So, and then at the end, Srila Prabhupada said that it was really difficult for Uddhava. He said, Uddhava was simply struck with wonder, how wonderful it is that Krishna apologized to his parents, that he was scared of Kamsa. He was struck with wonder. It's so wonderful, and by such glorious behavior of the Lord. And he was very sorry that he was unable to go with him. So he's in separation, he's in deep separation, in deep pain of separation. The Lord left. He left his pastime on this earth, and Uddhava was left behind. He didn't live with the Lord. And that's very, very painful. Another point in this purport is that Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna, when he apologized to his parents, in a sense, he apologized for something he didn't do. But, he didn't, Vasudeva took him for protection, but Krishna is accepting responsibility. In one of our seminars, we teach conscious living, and one of the principles of conscious living is being willing to be responsible for everything. Being willing to be responsible for everything. So Krishna is responsible for everything, and he's also willing to be responsible for everything, even in his pastime. That comes, Vasudeva took him to Mother Yashoda and Nanda. He made that decision, but Krishna is willing to be responsible for that. Oh, I broke your heart. I broke your heart out of fear, because I was, fearful of Kamsa. I broke your heart. And so Srila Prabhupada made a point is that in this beautiful pastime and sentiment of the Lord, like Krishna is showing how to be grateful to our parents. How a son is completely loyal and indebted to his parents and show gratitude to his parents. And also Prabhupada expanded that, is that Krishna did that for the atheists who don't believe that there is any father here, that there is any creator. They are not even on that level of like the Christian who believe our father, who is in heaven, please, give us our bread. So I see, at least there is an acknowledgement in Christianity, an acknowledgement that, let me be grateful to my father and mother, let me appreciate it. So Prabhupada makes that point also. I'm going to stop here, Hare Krishna. I'm going to read the verse again. Inoti chetas malato mamaitad yadha pada abhivandya prito tatam bakam sadhu sankirtanam prasidatam no krita niskritinam. Lord Krishna begged pardon from his parents for their, Krishna and Balaram's, inability to serve their feet due to being away from home because of great fear of cancer. He said, "Oh mother, oh father, please excuse us for this inability. All this behavior of the Lord gives me pain at heart." Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening. And any comment, discussion, realization, question? Hare Krishna. Krishna being inconceivable, his pastimes.
Well, driving here this morning, there's something going on for me related. I was just in kind of the mood of using my youth. You spoke about the dangerous things you did in your youth, and you weren't fearful. And I thought, it's a real suffering to not have the consciousness of like the parts of the brain developed, that I remember in my youth, and I see in my teenage stepchildren that they don't fear what they should fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, even now I'm considering like there's an innocence about that that's also wonderful. I mean, amazing, interesting, curious. And I was just being like, I was in the mood this morning of like curiosity, like, and pain and maybe some anger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, Krishna's allowing us to choose to take birth in the body with the immature brain that doesn't develop and make all the mistakes. And then I was thinking, well, how is this, the reaction of my action? How is this my karma? Why does he allow me to come into a body that doesn't even have the ability, cognitively, the brain doesn't even have the ability to make like right choices. It doesn't even have a choice to make choices. At that, like, I'm so limited. And then the brain forms more, and I look back, and it forms more, and I look back, and relatedly also, maybe jumping around, I heard from Kanchanbala, her father, sent her a message last night, and I was hearing the message, and he said, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur was lamenting his time in Grahastha ashram, waste of time, useless waste of time, with all of his achievements, he was a magistrate, it's like useless waste of time. So even in this short lifetime, I'm going to say it takes so long to develop to the point where I can go, yeah, okay, I'm still wasting time, but I know I'm wasting time. So it's like suffering that this morning.
So much suffering. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that you were reflecting. You were reflecting on, you're around teenagers, and they are your stepson, you care about them, you want to protect them, you're like Vasudev, you want to protect them from making stupid decisions. in their life, and then you were reflecting how, well, I made stupid decision in my life, and also feeling anger, like how come, like in fact, if I reflect on those moments when I was making those decisions, my brain was not developed to make different choices. And so I kind of hurt myself, and how come Krishna allowed me to be in a body that of me hurting myself, and you felt anger at that. And then you went deeper, you reflected like, okay, well, probably there's no mistake somewhere, I had that desire somewhere, I created that somewhere, I'm not the source of that forgetfulness, including fear. And it's recently, in fact, I took note of that. Recently, I was reading from the 4th canto and 29 chapters of the Bhagavatam, and the verse 29 in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said, is speaking about a devotee in full Krishna consciousness. He regrets his past experiences in material existence, and says this regret is very beneficial because it purifies the living entities of material conditioned life. He then prayed to the Lord to engage in his service, and at that time, Krishna grant liberation from the clutches of Maya. So, we it seems from this purport and other places that, like reflecting, and I know until recently, I haven't done that, like for, meat eating or sex life or whatever, like sinful activity I engaged in so much in my youth and in my young adulthood. I have felt, okay, well, I kind of turned the page, and okay, I'm committed to Krishna consciousness, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness. And often I was reflecting, is like, well, I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel any, and it's not about guilt and shame, because guilt and shame are like tamasic, and they are not conducive for spiritual life, but true regret. And to come to a place of seeing like, yes, because of my past activity in this lifetime, I was born in a family where I ate meat. Because of my past, choices I made in different lifetime or even in this life, I indulge in sex life. I even hurt people. And to really come to like being willing to be responsible for everything, which is what Krishna is doing, and be able with, I was reflecting on with regret, and also I was reflecting on like, I created that. Because I have seen children growing up being Krishna conscious from the time they are 2 or 3 or 4, and staying Krishna conscious when they are 12, 13, 14, and staying Krishna conscious when they are 16, 17, 18, and stay Krishna conscious when they are 20, 21, 22. They are also, you could say, well, they are the same brain. So the brain excuses kind of lame. It's a lame excuses. I made choices in my childhood. I made choices in my youth. I made choices in my young adulthood. And, I have been also feeling regret lately that I can see also, honestly, a thread of goodness and a thread of desire for self-realization and a thread of inquisitiveness from the time I was 4 or 5 years old. I can see that thread very clearly. And the pain in my heart is, how come I didn't follow that thread? How come I allow myself to be influenced by the environment, by what's cool, by my senses, my urges, and didn't allow that thread to be the driver? And he was, he came up, he did make many decisions in my life, that thread. But I have choices. And even like, let's say that I'm in a body of an animal. Yeah. So the animals, their consciousness is more covered. You can say, oh, their brain. They don't have the brain. Don't have the brain. So the animals say, it's not a question of brain, it's a question of consciousness. So in animal life, we just eat, what we are supposed to eat, and we do whatever we are supposed to do. And there is, like, the consciousness is very covered. But when we take birth as a human being, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And then it is very conducive, I think. So, I appreciate your sharing, because you are feeling some pang of regret. And Srila Prabhupada again said that it's very conducive, that it's very beneficial, conducive to really being willing to be responsible for everything. Well, let's start with my life. I can be responsible for the war in Ukraine, for sure. I can be, like, being willing to be responsible for so many things. Recently, I posted on my Facebook account a prayer, Ho'oponopono prayer. It's a very, very beautiful prayer. And many years ago, I practiced it quite intensively on top of my japa. I was practicing that. And I really had so many realizations of being willing to be responsible for everything. That prayer is all about forgiveness and gratitude. And I see that when I remember that prayer, and that prayer is very Krishna conscious, is that I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And just that prayer is such a powerful prayer to have the distance to see, like, oh, everything in my life, everybody, no matter what they did or didn't do, no matter the quarrel or the whatever is happening, they were just an instrument of what I created. Many years ago, when I practiced that, I had a flash of realization. I saw my mother slapping me. My mother was a very violent person. So I saw her slapping me across like that. I really felt it. That was a flash. And the experience I had due to that prayer and, chanting Hare Krishna, of course, the Krishna, the mantra is the most powerful for realization. The experience I had at the moment, I felt so sorry for my mother. I felt so regretful. I felt apologetic towards my mother and said, how terrible that you gave birth to that soul in that human experience who was supposed to deserve to be slapped by you. Because if I didn't deserve to be slapped by you, you will not have to carry the pain of slapping your daughter. This regret is very beneficial because it purifies the living entities of material conditional life. He then, the devotee is then pressed to the Lord to engage in his service. And at that time, Krishna grants liberation from the clutches of money. Thank you for your sharing, Natalie. It's so aligned with what we just read, Krishna's example.
A lot to consider.
A lot to consider. Swallow. Yeah.
That last part you mentioned is like the very, very enlightened. The Ho'oponopono and the relationship with your mother.
Mm-hmm. Krishna consciousness means radical responsibility. Radical responsibility. Krishna consciousness, as long as we have any blame, guilt, victim story in some way or another, reactivity, then we just know one thing is that I'm I'm not yet accepting full responsibility for the condition I created in my life. In that case,
In her life, she needed that.
what do you do? Return to meeting. There is just yeah, of course. If it wasn't mine, my mom will never slap me.
Yeah.
If it wasn't mine, how could she slap me if it wasn't mine?
It makes sense. Like for me to go there, it's like hearing your story. It's like I say enlightened, but it's like I don't know. Part of me is like, well, that's like to come to that place with so many events in my life. It's like okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying I have done that with every event in my life. I'm just sharing one experience, one realization that's, it's like a landmark.
Yeah, it feels heavy and hopeful. It's like, oh, that's possible, but like, it's some really like, wow, that's a different paradigm.
It's a different paradigm.
But my heart's feeling so much of that compression. It's like a squeeze, it's like, it's so beautiful and powerful and emotional and like heavy too.
I want to go to that place of really, truly being willing to be responsible for everything. Starting with our life circumstance, our field of activity in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It's our perfect field of activities, and we created that field of activity. And, we are the knower of the field. So let's know the field. And I know the field. I know I had choices from very young childhood. I had choices. I had a thread inside that I could have followed too. Yeah. I knew what I was doing was stupid.
Yeah, it really relates. Still, it's like I've done terrible things in life. But I'm a good person. There's a duality there. This is the world of duality.
Yeah.
I always felt that thread of I'm a good person, but I've done things as regrets.
It's really great.
But by regretting them, I'm good, aren't I? But like how to chew on all that. So you've given me a lot of clarity on how to like dissect that.
Yeah, and the AA, like the 12-step meeting, the 12-step, philosophy. That's so much God consciousness. And it's so based on radical responsibility. It's so based of like accepting responsibility, going back to each person in my life that I have hurt or I have done wrong to. And then, like going there. Yeah. Yes. Hi, Krishna. Yeah, you had something you wanted to share?
I'm in the Hi, Krishna. Thank you for your class. I was really appreciating the sharing that just unfolded as well, of just the being willing to be 100% responsible. Reminded of that too, in everything in my life. But what I really appreciate in class is like you bringing the teaching of rasa and this experience. What I experienced when you shared that was that every single thing has a purpose, like every single thing. And like I think there is a part of me when you shared like, okay, well, we like to have fear, but like even if there's fear in our lives that we create, it serves a purpose for that rasa. That energy is meant to serve in purifying. And with everything that is unfolding in this world, like it's unfolding in our country, a lot of that energy is like here right now of like, okay, why were these children killed? Why were they murdered in this school? And what I'm sitting with is like, okay, the rasa, like, okay, we like fear. Like maybe there's some fear that needed to be felt in purpose to serve, to purify, like those souls. And so, okay, looking at my life, like any things that I'm allowing into my life, whether it's guilt, shame, frustration, judgment, I create these instances, and I think you said even in your sharing, it's like those things are an instrument to purify me. And Krishna gives us an opportunity. It's hard for me to fully accept this. It's like it's hard for me to say, okay, like this is, and even in this the sharing, I'm like, okay, well, it's inconceivable to understand it all as well, like Krishna's consciousness, to even understand all of it. Yet he puts himself in a place to purify, I imagine, his own father in some way. I don't know from the purport. I'm wondering if like that's part of it too. Like, you know, he creates the opportunity for his father to want to save him. Is that to purify him as well? You know, is
To
that
increase his love, to increase intimacy. You know, for us, because we are under the tree mode of matter nature, we want to purify. But even when we are liberated, let's say we are liberated from, still there is like ananda bodhivadana, the experience of happiness, the experience of intimacy, the experience of closeness with Krishna is unlimited. So Krishna is doing things with his devotees, his associates, to increase that, not necessarily to decrease the material attachment. So we, you know, like there is a similarity that Krishna brings emotion to help us closer to him. But for us, is like to help us closer to him by freeing ourselves from our material conditioning, versus with his associate, is he creates a similar emotion on the other side to create an intimacy and closeness.
Okay, that clarifies it for me. It's like, yes, that's his intimate associate. So it's more to create a deep relationship rather than it's not trying to purify him. And so even
And for us too, we can
yeah.
see it like that too, if we choose. We can see that every event or emotion that we experience, we can see that, oh, it's purifying, and it is purifying. And if we choose, we can go even further. Of course, we don't want to do that artificially, but we can go further. It's just like Krishna wants to increase my love for him. Krishna wants to increase my, you know, love and closeness and desire for service for him. And we can see it like that too. The fear or the frustration or whatever is coming in our life. You know, like those children being like killed. I can see it all as purification. That fear is purifying everybody, and you know, so soul get purified from somewhere or something. And we can say, okay, well, that's also increased, you know, my appreciation of Srila Prabhupada's teaching, or Prabhupada sees so clearly, and you know, we can also take it that way, in a positive affirmation to come closer to Krishna.
Like Queen Linty when she asked
for more calamities.
Yes.
Make those calamities come again and again, because when those calamities come again and again, we can remember you, Krishna.
Almost like without that, then I could just continue to live an illusion of, you know, life is grand, and as David and I talk about all the time, like life is Disney. Like I don't need to look at Krishna if life is Disney, because I have everything I want and everything I need.
Yeah, and in America, a lot of people look at life as if it's Disney, and then something happened and they are shocked, like, oh my God, what's happening in Disneyland? Yeah.
So we've been given the gift and the opportunity from Krishna to come closer to him in these process of fear, of anger, of frustration. And
we can see them like that if we want. It's purifying, and it's also a conducive way to see it. It's purifying my soul, is purging, you know, purging all the sinful activities, the reaction from those sinful activities. And we can also see it, oh, it's coming closer to Krishna. You know, like an expression is like there's no atheist in a foxhole. So in a foxhole is
during the World War I. You were, everything was taking place because they were digging like holes. And so, and it was a crazy war. And so the fear was very intensified there. And so in that intensity of fear, the turning to God was also intensified. The intimacy with God was intensified.
It's a reminder that it's like, for me, it's a reminder. It's like not only the purification, like I don't have to make myself like, oh, you're so bad, you need to be purified. No, it's also the relationship with Krishna that's being created. Like that feels like a higher consciousness, Krishna consciousness.
Yes, because you're so bad, you need to be purified. It's punishment, guilt, and shame.
Yes.
Usually it's not very conducive for spiritual life, those emotions. Instead of like, oh, Krishna is so kind, he's creating the difficult, challenging situation for me to come closer to him, for me to have a relationship with him.
Yeah, for me not to continue to be entangled with material energy and to come and connect with Krishna. I thank you. I'm appreciating that because I'm also starting to see more of that in my life. Like what?
More of like Krishna wanted your love and your service and wanted you to be close to him. Not that Krishna want to punish you because you're bad. Because that perspective doesn't lead us very far.
What I'm seeing is like when I notice like if an emotion of separation from a certain relationship in my life, I right now what I'm choosing to do is to chant. It's like, okay, normally I would go into like a boohoo story for myself of like whatever it is, like, oh, this person no longer wants to be in my life, so how sad is that I don't have this friendship in my life. And what I'm choosing to do now is chant, when before I would lament. And so just here this morning, it's like, oh, okay, again, this is an opportunity that Krishna is giving me to turn to him rather than turn to the stories that I would create before about what does this mean about me.
What does it mean about me? And then lamentation.
Yes.
Yeah, lamentation is like allowing tamas to overcome us. And instead you go to spiritual, transcendental. You go to a place of like really enlightenment, like, oh, I'm going to be with Krishna. That friend is not in my life. It's painful. I'm grieving. And I'm going to be with Krishna.
Becomes a choice too. It's like you're sharing with Devin. Everything is a choice as well. What we can see, what I can see of how I'm responsible as well.
Responsible is able to respond.
Yes.
So I can respond with lamentation, blame, shame, guilt, victim story, or I can respond with, okay, it belongs to me, and let me turn to Krishna and serve Krishna. And I regret that, somehow I created that in my life.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Priya. Hare Krishna. Entourage Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.